Thanks for joining us as we interview the brightest minds in cyber here at the Elisity Studio at RSA 2026 in San Francisco. I'm William Toll, and today I have David Holmes. David is the field CTO at Imperva. Prior to that, you were at Forrester in the AppSec space. Introduce yourself.
Sure. So thanks for having me. I'm David Holmes, CTO for application security at Imperva. But prior to that, I was an analyst at Forrester, and one of my coverage areas was microsegmentation. And I talked to dozens, not hundreds, but dozens of enterprise clients about their challenges around microsegmentation. I'm here at RSA to meet customers, partners.
Great. And so you're here at RSA. What are you trying to find this year at RSA?
You know, that's a great question. And one of the reasons I'm glad to be here talking about this is because we're not necessarily talking about AI, which is everything. All the other discussions are agentic and AI, and that's its own set of challenges. I'm really excited to talk again about things that I sort of know about. Does that make sense?
That's great.
Yeah.
You know, as one of the experts in the world about microsegmentation, I'm curious, like zero trust. What's blocking the progress? And I know it's a journey, and we've been talking about it for years. Yeah. But what is really blocking organizations today?
That's a great question. The good news is that a whole bunch of governmental agencies and those types, people with a mandate, are actually proceeding down the road of actually doing zero trust. And that's fantastic, right? And a lot of the initiatives that they have, if it doesn't support zero trust, it's not prioritized. So that's great that they have the buy-in at the highest levels. Classically, the blockers for zero trust had to do with the fact that you can describe zero trust very succinctly. My favorite way to describe it was always replacing implicit trust with explicit policy, which is like 7 words or something. It sounds real easy, but that actually is a huge body of work.
That's right.
And that was always the blocker. Now, the place that people always wanted to make this happen first was the network, because it was just chock full of implicit trust. And that had been the blocker for a long time. However, new solutions have come out that dramatically speed up this process, where something used to take literally years as they would discover all the data flows, et cetera, could be done a different way by saying, hey, what if we had a horizontal policy that said video cameras can only speak to the cloud, right? That ignores, that reduces a whole threat surface where an infected video camera could hack backward into the organization, right? So common sense policies like that could make this thing so much faster. Now, is that the original, does it try to get to the original vision of zero trust with mapping data flows and stuff? Not quite, but one could argue this is much more effective, and the time to value is much faster.
Right. You know, that brings up a good point, right? So 7 years ago or so, microsegmentation, network segmentation, a lot of organizations tried. I think you did some research on that.
I had, like I said, I talked to dozens of organizations who had tried it, maybe at their company, maybe at a past company, and literally most of the implementations failed or stalled or were aborted. And for all kinds of reasons that sometimes had nothing necessarily to do with the intentions of the people doing it. They were trying to do the right thing. But I think the technology wasn't there at the time. And it is what it is.
And do you think now, today, if I said microsegmentation in weeks, not years, is it believable or?
Like, yes, because of the new techniques, right, and the new approaches. I think if you are somebody who's looking to do something like microsegmentation, which I always told people, if you want to be zero trust, you have to do microsegmentation. You can't get around it.
Right.
You can't just deploy ZTNA and say you're zero trust now. You have made progress in your zero trust journey. But when I was an analyst, I would say if you didn't do the hard part, right, the hard part at the time, microsegmentation, then you didn't do it all the way, and that you still have to do that. And it's my opinion that zero trust network access really only works best as a protection mechanism if it's combined with microsegmentation. So I don't know where I was going with that, but those are things I believe in.
I don't know, David, you know, I couldn't agree more. That's for sure. But, you know, this is the story that Elicity's trying to tell. And I think you know, when we think about the work that you did at Forrester, and we think about these regulations you mentioned at the beginning of our chat here, this is really opening these conversations and driving a lot more interest. And we're all here to solve the problems, right? This attack surface that, you know, we solve the endpoint to a degree, and what are we doing about all the unmanaged devices? So,
The last report I published before I left Forrester, I told people, take another look at microsegmentation. There's new techniques now, new ways to do it that might be more tailored toward your specific environment. It's time to take another look at microsegmentation.
Great. Well, David, I really appreciate the chat today. Thanks.
Thanks.
Have a good RSA.
Thanks.
Thanks.